Okay. This is ONAP TSC Initiatives for New Delhi and Oslo Plus. And then OS TSC chair and vice chairs, we discussed about what are you gonna do next in ONAP. So the Pablo is chair and me vice chair and Dongwang also vice chair and then Kagwang from China Mobile are vice chairs. And then I'm gonna describe, I like to, thanks to Shankar, and he provided input, and also Mark Fiedler from Deutsche Telekom, they provide Deutsche Telekom vision, and Andreas Geisler, of course, Deutsche Telekom, and also Dong Hui from Huawei, they provide input. And then also it including the input from China Telecom through the Dongwang, and then also China Mobile input through Kagwang. Okay, that's what I'm gonna talk about it. So agenda is, we're gonna talk about ONAP backgrounds and challenges, and also TSC initiative action point and achievement and next plans, and our focus area for Oslo and Plus, and also again, the streamlining architecture and CI/CD in New Delhi, I'm gonna briefly describe, and also unmaintained project management, and then also component architecture for New Delhi, and also what we're gonna focus on Oslo release, lightweight ONAP, AI/ML intents, Git, CI/CD, and security. And also I mentioned briefly about security and logging architecture, and then also Tata Communications possible contribution. And also I'm gonna briefly mention about generic repository-based architecture. I think Kamel and myself, we presented some of the Git-based ONAP, the possible concept in Budapest. And this is just a brief, but if you want more detail, you can look at the previous event we did in Budapest. Kamel did great presentation there. And also we are looking for ONAP ORAN nephew collaboration. And then also I'm gonna talk to ONAP ORAN collaboration in progress, which input from Shankar. And also I'm gonna share China Mobile and China Telecom, Deutsche Telekom, Huawei visions. That's what agenda. So this is a background and challenges. So ONAP was created as an open source automation platform for the telecom community, and then provided many advanced the network automation use cases and functionality, actually they did. And also initially it was structured to deliver as a platform, but now ONAP is a collection of network automation functions. We changed the name. So ONAP is not abbreviation any longer. So, and current ONAP allows operator, vendor, or community to pick and choose desired ONAP function based on their needed, and then based on streamlining evolution. So this is the streamlining component modularity, CD-based pick and choose, individual and autonomous component building, simplified agile-based release process. That's the kind of a summary of the ONAP streamlining. And as you know, ONAP has aligned with the industry and de facto standards. For example, AI/ML, intent-based network automation, they conform to 3GPP, TM Forum, SC, etc. And the network, ONAP supporting network slicing support based on 3GPP. And also security enhancement we made through Ingress, IAM, Service Mesh, and Kubernetes. And we removed the ONAP-specific security framework, which used to be called AAF, it's gone. So we had a lot of trouble. So that's a typical, in general, one company solution doesn't work well in open source. So it came from some company, it worked very well, very advanced. But I personally has problem when I lead the SE alignment in ONAP, and the vendor, like operator, they have their own VNFM externally, and they have their own security system. They don't care about the ONAP AAF. So they need a more standard base. That's why we got rid of the AAF, for example. This is a good use cases. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna continue to security enhancement to security, therefore this, based on this. And also we support the SC NFE, several models, API, and then function. That's what we ONAP did. And strength is, as I mentioned at the beginning, end-to-end automation, network automation is turnkey solution. You just deploy whole platform, you have everything. That's a good thing, and it's open source. And industry adoption, not fully, but Deutsche Telekom will use ONAP, not entire platform, some selected component in production environment next year. That's a good. And then also it's policy-driven and AI ML intent network automation in research. We did that. The problem is, as I mentioned, large framework, complexity, stiff learning curve, and integration development problems because of huge. It's so complicated to do that. And because of the large footprint, the performance and scalability, some challenges. So challenges, sometimes we competing standard and technologies, which is not good. So many of them we remove that. Any ONAP specific mechanism and the mechanism we replace to the standard base. So that's good. And vendor lock-in, of course, the ONAP came from the few vendors on all operators. So there's some trace of the vendor lock-in, but we removed many of them. So that's a good thing. And the implementation challenges, of course, and then contribution have been decreased. That's one of the big challenges. Opportunities. So we have many emerging technologies, AI, ML, large language model, Git-based, those things we are considering, and we discuss internally a lot in ONAP, and we'll see how it goes. And then also declarative intent. So some of them already are being executed in ONAP. And also the secure CI/CD, as I mentioned, and then also network automation function catalog for others. So we try to, TSC, they suggest we creating some documentation how to aggregate ONAP function for building their solutions. So current ONAP status, not many new features are being implemented in New Delhi. I think mostly the AI ML based enhancement and also DMAP MR deprecation and also OOM enhancement. That's the kind of a major thing. And contribution have been decreased significantly. And collaboration activity with other community are not strong yet. We discussed several collaboration between ONAP and ONSC, but still not the concrete level to me. So it's still under discussion probably. And also some of the operator, they want the connection to Nephew, but we are waiting for their interfaces and then models. So once it's done, probably gonna try that. So that's the current one. And yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Better? Sorry, I didn't. Okay. Thank you. So this is the TSC initiative action points. So ONAP TSC is setting up ONAP strategies and roadmap for ONAP future focus, what are you gonna focus area, and releases. One of them is a lightweight ONAP core with the function aggregation capabilities. And the second one is component interface normalization and all standardization. So what you're trying to do is once we have built a component individually, when they aggregate, the interface between components should be normalized. Otherwise, very hard to use it. So we try to do that. So I talked to Twine and about the CPS. I think they provide pretty generic interface, which is good. And then so we try to take the CPS model. CPS is a new component, so they have the pretty clean design. So we following that path, and that's the ONAP. And second one is we evaluate innovative solutions and technologies to ensure that ONAP remains the best fit. So ONAP has many advanced features at that time. So if we make it easy to use by other community, I think they can take some of the functions, not as a whole platform, but they can take it. So I was happy listening to Alex's presentation for ONAP TSC OAM component. They are already using the best collectors, and also SDNC, SDN, and R from ONAP. So that's the kind of a sign that if we make it wrap the ONAP component well, other community can take advantage, and they don't have to, create from the scratch. That's the point. And the one thing is we want to not just expose at the current project level, and there's many sub-component level. Because some project is very huge. So if you expose the sub-component level, it can be more useful by other communities. So for example, ONAP SO service orchestra is a huge component, but SESU already have some session I worked together there. And then we did many of the component can be turned off as an optional component. So when they build, they can bring only the needed subcomponent with the ONAP SO. That's the kind of starting point. But we have a, maybe if you have a better way, we can do that. But anyway, the bottom line is we want to expose the services, then other community can use it. That's what we're trying to do. And also for that, we need to find some solution. We have to keep going further, faster, and then so other community can use it. So secure CI/CD, one of the example, repository-based declarative intent. Yesterday, Rahul and nephew security, I'm working in the security, the group too. And he mentioned about the signing and then the CI/CD and SBOM. So we mentioned that, well, LFIT already resolved that issue for ONAP and resolving ONSC. Nephew doesn't have to create it from scratch. They can ask LFIT, and can you generate the SBOM based on the nephew? So it can be done. So that's why it's synergy there. So and also AI ML based network provisioning configuration optimization is in place. I think is coming more in Oslo. But I'm going to share the China Mobile, China Telecoms point. So, and I already mentioned about collaborate with other communities and standard organizations. So ONSC, nephew, 5G Super Blueprint, and 3GPP TM Forum, SC, ITF, and others. As you know, ORAN, they provide specification. SC provides the specification. 3GPP, those they provide specifications. ONAP doesn't provide specification. We are providing reference implementation for those specification. So that's the difference. So but that's why we sometimes, when I finish the SC alignment in ONAP, we provide our feedback to SC. I even presented the SC, so they know how the SC, the NFO, the specs really used by somebody. So that's the good collaboration. This is what we're gonna do. And then focus area, manage it right size, focused function can be used by operator, vendor, and industries. So we're gonna continue streamlining and remove the unneeded ONAP components and remove any dependency of the unmaintained ONAP component. So that means whenever standalone ONAP component, they can use as is. And then also normalize interfaces. And then as I mentioned, we are thinking about the component catalog or documentation to guide functional aggregation on demand. That's the one. And then we see collaboration in other community already mentioned. And also we become a valuable reference implementation choice. So as I mentioned, SC, we implement SC specification. We provide feedback to SC specification team. So how we use it and what's the area they can enhance. That's a good, the collaboration and the ONAP providing reference implementation for that. And also AI ML, we do that. And then also secure and CI/CDs. So this is kind of illustration. What's the ONAP streamlining? At the beginning, ONAP as a network automation platform. And everything is a big and you have to deploy everything together. So it's a big, complex network automation platform. But it provides a rich end-to-end service use cases and functions. And then that doesn't work well because there are several challenges. So we moved to ONAP streamlining. So we make it ONAP individual function components. So ONAP specific platform services are being deprecated, I mentioned before, and interface normalization, standardization, and individual component certification. So the Tuan mentioned about the ONAP was the platform. Now we wrap up individual component. So maybe we're gonna talk about each component maturity. So when other company wants to use one particular the component, they know it is mature or incubated or some things. So we try to go through. I'm gonna suggest this to next TSC meeting. So I think Toan, did I answer your question? Okay. And CD-based deployment is popular. Nephew example, and also, and I think that this is a good trend. And so anyway, so ONAP streamlining, we just not as a platform, it's an individual component. We are here. And next one suggested from China Mobile, China Telecom, and other Deutsche Telekom. What they're doing is, what are you gonna do with it? So they want to creating some solution using this, aggregating this available ONAP component function. They want to create their solution. So one of the solutions, China Mobile, actually China Telecom thinking is using lightweight ONAP. They want to achieve some intent-based automation, network automation. So they want to enhance that one. So this is one of the diagram came from China Telecom, and then UEI, NI, and policy, SDNC, DCAE, SO, and also CDS and CPS, they can support. And security is important, and Git, we are thinking about it. And also take the, to plug into controller to ONSC, SMO, or Nephew. That's the future. So we are going that direction. That's the way we are doing it. Okay, ONAP streamline architecture and CI/CD in New Delhi. This is what we have done. So I mentioned we did, and we do take the ONAP code and build pipeline, and we build each ONAP component like this here, and then we store in the artifact repository. For our choice was Nexus, but it can be Git any places. Once you're doing, and this is the CI/CD, the pipeline, and building through the CI, and then putting into repository Git. Then the applying CD, currently Deutsche Telekom using Argo CD, and using CD, then they just deploy individual component as they want. So that's the current the enhancement. We support this since Montreal, but New Delhi, we refine further by OEM team. So we got better scenario. So this is what we are supporting now. So here on maintain project management, we continue trim down unneeded and unmaintained project to slim down ONAP. Remaining ones will be core, and unmaintained ONAP project can be archived. So later on, it's not part of the Jenkins job or delivery, but later on, if the user, they want to use particular the old component, they can restore from the archive. I mean, they can propose to ONAP TSC, they want to bring back. For example, NBI, we deprecated this NBI of ONAP. Deutsche Telekom has their own use cases using NBI, and they are modifying it. And then if it's distant enough, I think probably they're gonna plan to upstream NBI. In that case, going through TSC, we might restore NBI component. That's the process. So anyway, we define unmaintained project management process step. This is a transition step, and who's doing what, and what's the sequences. So whenever who wants to retire some component, we're going through this path. PTL initiate this, we want to retire this component or subcomponent, and then architecture, they're gonna come to me, architecture subcommittee, we reviewed, and then decide what's the dependency and impact overall. And then once we approve it, then going through TSC, and then some documentation, and we've talking to OEM team, finally move that project from the Jenkins shop and delivery. That's the one. So mentioned before, MSP is replaced by service mesh, and CPS portal, we remove that in previous release, Montreal. And then the New Delhi, we removed a bunch of them. But so whenever I have this arrow sign, because which is replaced by some industry tool, and also MSP service mesh too. So remaining, the architecture diagram is like this I showed you before. So new portal NG coming in the picture here. And the grade 1 is all deprecated. MBI is possible, MBI can come back. And VFC recently retired, because this used to be SOL 005 NFVO capability based on the SC NFE, but not many using ONAP, so that's why we decided to deprecate it. But it's possible we can come. And then OEM team, we provide security framework. This is a new one. Replaces AAF. AAF replaced a long time ago, so I didn't list this here, but we are doing it. And then CPS, and then there's a POC I just mentioned, logging framework. It's possible in Oslo, Tata Communication could pick up, so we'll see. So, and you can look at this link for diagram. So, so ONAP architecture focus, as I mentioned, lightweight ONAP, AI ML intent, Git security. So we continue streamlining evolution, building lightweight ONAP core network automation by aggregating individual ONAP functions, normalize it, and also focus on, we're gonna focus on AI ML intent-based network automation, because China Mobile and China Telecom willing to add additional feature into Oslo. That's their plan. And also we want to, once we settle down individual wrapping, and then we like to offer ONAP individual component function for building ONAP SMO. So Seshu today, he's gonna talk about cross-community effort. So here, he's gonna talk about how ONAP talking to ONAP SC SMO, and ONAP SC SMO talking to Nephew. So anyway, ONAP, we try to offer component to other community. So in actually ONAP SC SMO, I think Taiwan University lab, they tried to bring the ONAP platform into ONAP SC SMO, but we provide this ONAP streamlining better version. So I think they are using the latest one. So they try to playing with the ONAP function for SMO. Shankar, right? Is that right? Thank you. Yeah. So, and then we are exploring the repository-based onboarding. So Kamal, myself, we presented, in Budapest. I think ONAP has their onboarding component, which is SDC, but this is some as ONAP specific, using an ONAP specific internal model. So when we are supporting SC alignment, we had some trouble because external VNFM and CNFM, they don't care about ONAP internal model. So that's why some of them, ONAP SC, they don't really worry about SDC, and because there's another onboarding way. And also Nephew has their own way of onboarding based on the repository based. I think that's a good trend. So with some modification in ONAP, I think we can achieve this, because it's not specific, because we're just getting in the CISA file or something, and then we just put it into repository based on CD based. I think we can do that, but we'll see how it goes. And the security enhancement, OIDC, IAM Ingress Service Mesh certificate, based on our experience of security, for security in ONAP, we are providing consultation to Nephew security. That's what yesterday, one of Raul's presentation about the user identity and access management, actually just based on our experience in ONAP. Also, Ericsson's some internal experiences, so we are sharing it. So in ONAP, we have a lot of achievement you know, for security, based on that. So I think we can provide some information. Unified logging design implementation, we try to do, as I mentioned, you know, Tata Communication, we're gonna report what's going on, what are you gonna do? So we try to propagate the CPS already supporting the standard, the generate standard format, and we like talk to other ONAP PTL to conform to current general requirement. So we're gonna discuss at the PTL meeting and then how much they can do. Once then we can, you know, using logging framework, and then we can collect, aggregate, and store and visualize. That's what we try to plan to do that. And then secure CI/CD. And once we started the Fresca, this is open SSF reference implementation for secure CI/CD. But this is, we haven't chosen this one yet, but we are thinking about it. We'll see how it goes. And then SBOM, those things. And then again, documentation we're gonna provide for the core project. And this is by illustration. We have a lightweight ONAP and then communicate with the ORAN and nephew. So we have some synergy. So this is a security architecture we provided, replacing AAF. This architecture works well and still standing. So we made some enhancement. When I provide consultation to nephew, they have some use cases, the secure service mesh across the cluster, management cluster and workload cluster. So regular service mesh doesn't support well. So that's why we bring in the SPIFFE and based service mesh. So it's possible they can support the global workload ID across the multiple cluster. So I overlay existing ONAP security architecture left side and adding the SPIFFE and Spire the implementation. So I already provide this slide deck to nephew, security, but we'll see how it goes. But we're gonna try to work together and how we're going to. And OEM team, Andreas Geisler, he's going to look at the SPIFFE-based service mesh and if it's doable or not. Also, I participate in this So.io company presentation. They talk about ambient, Istio, which is sidecar-less, the service mesh. So we are looking. As they said, last year we checked that, but it was not production ready. So they said don't use it. But this May, end of this month, they are going to release a new one, which can support ambient service mesh. So in that case, we can reduce the footprint further. We don't need it. And also the network function we are managing, we want to reduce the size. We don't have to put the sidecar for every NF. We want ambient, and we can reduce the footprint for NF. So we are discussing about that. So for the security. And this, the right column is the logging architecture. We separate log generation from log collection, aggregation, persistent visualization. Was successful. We did made proof of concept. We proved this works, and then so remaining probably we're gonna rediscuss again with the Tata, and they look at this architecture. They're following this architecture. That's a good thing. And you can take a look at this link, the security concept, log architecture, and security logging field. You can look at that. Bob Hyman from MITRE company, he, Modessa, Emmy, and then Pablo on ONAP SECOM, we generated this standard logging field, and we provide it as a global requirement. So CPS Twine team already implement that, so it's a good. So anyway, that's the security plan. I shared this before. Once we build a CD-based deployment and Git-based, then it's possible, this is just concept, it's possible ONAP component build going through delivery pipeline, and then we and artifact repository, and we can deploy into certain the Kubernetes environment. And also a vendor and operator, they have their own component if they have, and they can go through this delivery pipeline secure, and they can deploy into so workload in the Kubernetes. So that means we can support the multi-tenancy, workload cluster, and namespace, and those things. So this is kind of vision. So ONAP pipeline is not just for ONAP. The other operator and then the vendor can take advantage of that. So that's the kind of vision, but we'll see how it goes. So this is the collaboration. So we see Nephew is a good showcase for declarative intent with the continuous reconciliation. This is not a new concept, but they are they're handling it. And then ONAP looks for its delegation integration point for Nephew for infra and CNF management, but ONAP can use Nephew NoSPA interface, Git API, or Nephew Kubernetes API for integration, but Nephew can apply to everywhere. This is concept to me, framework architecture, because they're using the repository-based and getting in and then reconcile with the CD or whatever choice. They're using config sync, but we can choose our CD, we can choose Flux. Once they get it, and we have a controller, and then actually execute what they're gonna do. It's not a new concept, but I think that's why when I see the Nephew, it's a good initiatives, and then maybe we can take advantage of their architecture and framework. So we'll see how it goes. And also, and I think that I look at the architecture of the ONSC SMO, Falcon NF4, I think they are leveraging Nephew pattern and framework. So because they have a Nephew, make the management cluster, and then they put the Falcon and then NF4. Is that right, Shankar? Yeah, ONSC, the architecture. Yeah. I saw that. So. Yeah. So that's why. Yeah. Thank you. That's why I see Nephew is not just a separate, thing, but we can leverage this pattern to me. And okay. Yeah. So at the Nephew some events long time ago, I present how ONAP think about Nephew. So this is a kind of a main concept I share with them. And and then this is input from Shankar. Okay. This is what overlay, this is SMO architecture. And then what ONAP component can be used, can be imported into ONAP SMO. So he defined SO, red one is just SO, and also CPS, and VES collector, SDNC. The VES and SDNC already in there. And then, item, possibly policy, and then Kafka, they don't have to come from ONAP, this industry, de facto anyway. So this is kind of a overlay between ONAP streamlining component, and then provides pick and choose facilitation, and maybe ONSC can choose and function as needed. So we want to collaborate with the ONSC SMO. And then, yeah, so I think that they are considering reuse of the ONAP function. So Shankar, can you share insight briefly? You have a microphone? Is that microphone somewhere? Oh. Sorry. Yeah.
So thank you. Thanks, Byung. So this picture came out of a collaboration with multiple people, including Byung and Martin, and Martin Skorupski, John Keeney, Seshu, and several other people as well. I don't remember the full name, list of names. One takeaway from this is the collaboration or overlap that happened between ONAP and ONSC it actually happened because there were people already involved on both sides. And now it's happening with Nephew, and it happens only when someone is for some reason already involved. If if there are no people doing the overlap between two communities, I don't think in open source it doesn't happen that if you say, oh, here's our code, send an email, please use it. If someone is actively interested in making reducing the duplication, that's when it works.
Right.
So that's one point. And so in this case, what I saw happening over the years is in ONAP, there was SDNC, SDNR. And so people like Martin who were aware of that, and they were also involved in ORAN SE. So when they had to use the OAM function, they leverage and reuse. They realized there's no point in doing two things. So that's why it's the same code from the SDNC, SDNR, and the West collector, which was used for the OAM function in ORAN SE. And similarly, John Keeney, a lot of common code or thinking for the non-real-time rake and the A1 adapter and things like that. The second point I want to make about this is all this was done at a time when the ORAN SMO was still not defined. It was like a black box. And so some of the work we did in working group 1, which I sort of pushed, is to get some details as to what's inside the ORAN SMO. And that led to this picture. All the gray boxes behind are, it's from an ORAN working group 1 document about these are all the parts of the ORAN SMO. The one main takeaway for anyone interested in ONAP is all of this is still open. It's still not implemented in open source. There are questions about whether somebody would support all of this being in open source or not. It depends on who sees the value. But even in this conference, I heard people asking about, there are forces, people want to see an open source SMO. Maybe not the usual players, but there are people who are interested. And so it is relevant. But it happens slowly. It happens only when someone says, I really want this problem solved. And there are specific, even with all this interest. So now let me talk about Nephew. Nephew is interested in the ORAN O cloud. It's cloud, it's directly cloud management, cloud deployment. And so that part of it, which is managed from the ORAN SMO, is the FOCOM and NFO. And so there's a very natural overlap. Nephew is interested in that space. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of momentum. They can do, the Nephew community can do that. And the ONAP community can just use that. One point to be made there, which I made in the Nephew meeting also, is if there is an O2 interface which manages the ORAN O cloud. But there's a separate interface in ORAN called O1, which actually configures the network function. And so it's the functionality of the network function itself. It's not the cloud layer. And in ORAN SMO, they expect if you have an O2, if you have an O1, there is something in the whole SMO which coordinates. And so the takeaway there is, if ONAP is network automation platform, it can handle all parts of the SMO. So there is a role to play there. And things which ONAP has talked about, which has not been addressed elsewhere, is policy, the database, which is CPS. So at this point, currently, anyone who is focused on different parts of ORAN will slowly realize that all of this is important.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Shankar. Great. So, okay, now we move to China Mobile Visions and the input from Kae-Kwang He. I don't think he's here, but I'm gonna provide input. So we discussed, this is a vice chair of TSC. We discussed about what their vision for ONAP from China Mobile perspective. So they said China Mobile will continue to carry out work related to large models. Their focus is LLM and autonomous networks in ONAP. That's their focus. And then they think ONAP is relevant for the 5G and coming 6G, cloud native network, and AI-based architecture. So they are working. And also Huawei and China Mobile presented in this ONE summit and talking about cloud native plan for 6G at, I think a couple of days ago, I think. Yeah. And also currently all ONAP components can be released independently, but there is a lack of official guidance on how to combine existing ONAP functionalities to achieve or create next level solution. This is what exactly they suggested. So I mentioned before, in Oslo, we tried to create a lot of documentation guidelines, how to aggregate the function based on use cases. So when they contact us, we can probably provide some guidance and then which component they needed and what function. So anyway, we're gonna build the catalog of the ONAP, the core function, what this function component does, and when to use it, how to use it. We're gonna provide that kind of documentation. There are some existing documentation, but that focus on individual the project, not showing how to aggregate. So we're gonna try adding through the documentation PTO Tom Kulik. We're gonna work together with the TSC and architecture subcommittee and OM. We are trying to provide some documentation. So, and third one is they desire to release a streamlined version of ONAP, lightweight ONAP that includes the core network orchestration function, for example, SO, SDC, policy, UUI, and etc. I think CPS and then CDS could be part of it, and policy too. Yeah, policy already mentioned. So while also reducing deployment complexity and resource consumption. So this is what exactly same thoughts. So we want to reduce footprint to make it simple and then make it component function individual, and then we can provide guidance how to combine for next level solutions. And this is one of their vision for 5G super blueprint project, intent-driven orchestration for autonomous networks leveraging Gen AI. So anyway, this is their illustration. And so we have a business intent manager, and they can handle business level intent, and then they parse it, they transfer into, and then service intent manager. They have a AI, Gen AI based, so they generate some kind of a parameter. And then they provide multiple, for example, RAN intent manager, probably connecting that to ORAN SMO. And then transport intent manager, also nephew. They have a connecting that nephew for infrastructure and nephew for NF. So this is what they are thinking about it, and explore how to elevate the level of intelligence in autonomous network and through these new technologies. So intent is a big focus here, and Gen AI. In nephew, they're using Gen AI, certain area. That's a good. And we have the same thoughts in ONAP. So China Mobile, they are they're working on it. They working on since Montreal and also New Delhi, they added their component function. Lingli just showed. So we're talking about China Mobile vision. So the provide specific solution to demonstrate the construction of end-to-end autonomous networks that integrate intent-driven and generative large model techniques. So to cover end-to-end from business to service and also domain. So this is kind of their vision. And in practical scenario, fully leverage the outcomes of open source project like ONAP and nephew to assist in meeting the corresponding requirement. They see good value leveraging ONAP and nephew together, and possibly connection that to ORAN SMO for RAN intent manager. So we can have end-to-end solution and supporting the Gen AI and then the autonomous intelligent network automation. So this is input from Kaegong He, representing the concept of the China Mobile. Unless Lingli has some additional thought. Do you have any additional? No? No, it's okay. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I just don't want to put your spot. And this is what their requirement currently handling based on the large model. They actually focus, yeah. Oh, what's going on? Yeah, let me stop share and then share again. Strange. Okay, strange, it happened again. Sorry about that. So this is the requirement 1588 for New Delhi. China Mobile introduced a generative AI solution. And they are enhancing UUI and the UUI, the user interfaces and also backend services. China Mobile, they are using LangChain so to handle the large model. And then the LangChain allows integration with the multiple large models, enabling customer to choose or integrate different large model through UUI based on their requirements. I think the China Mobile conforms to 3GPP, I think SA5, some specifications. So for that, okay, and UUI UI provide customers with a unified input interface. They want to have unified input interface, and then probably they're going to have the AI assistant, and the database used to store usage record of large model and for optimizing and user experience. This is the input from China Mobile. And then this is the China Telecom vision, input from Dongwang. So this one is their focus areas, key function and development of intent-based network in ONAP. That's their focus. And for intent-driven automation, continue to collaborate and generate outcome and POC with SDO. And TMF SC ITOU. Next page, I'm gonna show what they done with for the SDOs. And current progress requirement 1589 and reviewed by ONAP architecture subcommittee and data service enhancement of input-driven networks in UUI. So what they're doing is they're using Gen AI, but China Telecom, they want to collect additional domain-specific data/knowledge and to fine-tuning and tuning parameter, so they can generate the more intelligent. That's their view. So they are putting in the new additional capability into New Delhi. So the UUI. So they have a data service function for that. And then these challenges, I think, is mostly resolved because prior to London, they have trouble because of AAF certificate expiry. But now we are using service mesh ingress. We have a new security architecture, so we have no problem with that. And then future work, they keep collaborating with the ONAP community on research and of the orchestration for AI, ML, and 6G. R&D based on their lightweight platform contribute the source code to ONAP. That's their future work. Intent-driven network automation, intent translation with generative AI plus domain-specific fine-tuning. That's the data service handling. And then also they probably publish a lightweight ONAP, they are thinking, that can handle core network automation. So this is what they done. They did a lot of requirements since the release 9 of the ONAP. And then they provide all kind of intent translation, some guarantee based on this. This is how we work. In ONAP, you can trace the requirement to get more details. And also they collaborate with the SDO, TMF, SC, GSM, and the ENI and the ITOT. They provide the proof of concept, and then they just collaborate with the standard the organization. This is their view of the lightweight core. So they collect UI, SO, ANI policy, DCA, and SDNC, and they are using this for intent-driven network automation. So UUI has a lot of work there, natural language process. That means they get a human input, a question, some human type, can I do this? And then they using some algorithm, network language processor, and then generate some form, and then feeding into ONAP components. and SO, ANI, and also they're collecting even from SDNC, from network and also DCA, and then they just feeding policy. That's how they work together about the kind of a closed loop here. And this is their illustration of the data service and the mobile computing power. So if you need more detail, I can set up a time at the Arcom, and then probably can arrange a meeting and inviting Dongwang from China Telecom, and then we can discuss and we can have a Q&A session. I think I can ask Dongwang if he wants to do that. So since he's not here today, so probably he will. We'll see. I'll let you know. If you have any questions specific, just contact me. Okay, I'll just reply, and then I'm going to organize the meeting and then for Q&A session. This is how they apply which SDO, IETF, SC, TM Forum, DGP, PITU, and CCSSA. So they in ONAP, they are aligned with the multi-SDO, and which is a good thing. And IEEE too, so that's good. And the next one, Deutsche Telekom vision, input from Mark Fiedler. He gave this input yesterday, and this is what Deutsche Telekom's vision. So good news, Deutsche Telekom plans to use ONAP core component as part of their telecom network automation platform automation solution in the production environment next year. So they are going to use ONAP in the production environment next year. That's a big news. So, but they're not using whole ONAP platform. That's why this ONAP streamlining evolution is critical, because they are gonna choose an SO, ANI, CPS, CDS policy, Poro, NG, which came from Deutsche Telekom anyway, other. So they're gonna select for their, based on the solution, TNAP solution, and they're gonna select it based on a streamlining. So Andreas Geisler, he came from Deutsche Telekom, and they put a lot of effort, and he and his team put a lot of effort to make ONAP streamlining happening. So that's why after this, I think he can have pretty good chance they can go to production next year. So for that, ONAP streamlining and OEM script enhancement for individual ONAP network orchestration function builds and CD-based deployment are in progress. That's what they are focusing on. They are using it. And then further integration and development on non-RT RIC, which is the ORN-SC, SMO integration, they are looking to. So they want to connecting that between ONAP and ORN-SC, SMO. So that's, they want to. And then close the collaboration with the ORAN alliances SC required to foster SMO development to ensure efficient development avoidance of double effort. So between ONAP SC, ONAP, and nephew. So they don't want to create some existing function from scratch. So they want to leverage existing one. So if we package the existing function nicely, I think you can increase the synergy between three. So that's the one. So Deutsche Telekom support disaggregation on a platform to a more project-oriented community like CNCF. So actually, we got some idea from okay, you know, we own a USB platform. Can you make it like a CNCF base? You know, so we wrap the individual function, and then we do the providing maturity, individual functions, components. So I think that they support ONAP streamlining, and we started, and then it was successfully executed by Deutsche Telekom and also Ericsson. So it was good thing. So I think that's the Deutsche Telekom vision. And this is Huawei input through Donghui. So he just, this is what Huawei doing now. Incident API enhancement. So they want to collect the network incident through SDNC, and they are using simulator, but they want to continuously monitoring incident from the network, and they want to unify the incident report because incident can be, you know, different kind of. They want to intelligently the store, the normalize it, and then currently they are focusing on the left side, right? So intent not fulfilled report, then coming back to UI portal based on some algorithm they want to in the future. They just diagnose and then resolve the incident, and then bring back to SDNC for network the correction, and through the SO SDNC. That's the current they're working on it in New Delhi. So they are, I think the Huawei and China Mobile, they work together for this. So if I read quickly, to meet actual need, the management system is overwhelmed by the frequency of the quantity of alarms, KPI, trace information with the growth of new service and service complexity. And the management system is built as a silo, but investment of the some fault along depends on some other data like topology data or performance data. So they comply TMF 724A and IETF draft to FANG OPS SWAC incident management. So they are following this specification. They try to achieve the instant the management report. So once they finish during the New Delhi release, maybe we can provide more detail. And we're gonna collect the input from Huawei and China Mobile, and then we try to document. This is another one. So what I'm trying to build was, there's several enhancements in New Delhi, AI, ANI, AML from China Mobile and China Telecom and Huawei this, and then OEM enhancement. I'm going to the document that one, and then try to create some kind of documentation for other community. So that's all from me today. And if you have any question, feel free to ask me, and then or contact me, and we can arrange the meeting at the Arkham, the meeting Tuesday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, but I don't know, so I can arrange that. So okay, feel free to contact me. So that's about it. And next one will be presented by Flori from Deutsche Telekom about OEM enhancement. I talk about OEM enhancement in general at a high level, but he will provide what Andreas Geisler and his team and Flori did in the things. I'm gonna stop share and stop recording, and I'm gonna stop share. Okay, this is it. Thank you very much. Okay. Flori, I'm gonna give you as a co-host. Oh, I cannot give. Sandra, can you Flori Bachman as a co-host? He can share his slide deck.
Yes, I can. I saw
Hi,
that you
Flori.
shared slides.
I'm not sure we can hear his voice.
You cannot hear me? Hello, hello. Can somebody hear me?
Flori, we cannot hear you, but I think they are helping.
Hello, hello.
To still cannot hear.
Hello, hello.
Okay, I can, yeah, we can hear him online. You can't hear him here.
You can hear me online. That's good. But you hear me now?
Not yet.
Not
They are
yet?
working on it. Just wait.
Yeah, okay. I have all the time in the world.
Huh? Here?
Hello, hello. Hello, test, 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 test.